So we are live now. So welcome everyone. My name is Jasmine and I'll be hosting our today's event. So in today's event, I have the pleasure to introduce you to the CEO of Allah's Kitchen. Allah's Kitchen is one of the top food brand in the UK and it has a global presence in more than 40 countries. The annual turnover of Allah's Kitchen was more than 100 million. Yes, you are hearing the right figures last year. And in today's event, Mark Cuddigan, the CEO of Allah's Kitchen, would be sharing, will reflect on his career journey in Allah's Kitchen, and also will discuss about how you as an audience can help to change the world for the better. So, and at the end of this event, we'll have a time for the audience to, you can ask any questions in the live chat so that and then Mark would be happy to answer you all at the end of the session. So it's my pleasure to hand over to Mark now.
Thank you, Jasmine. Hi, everyone. I'd say nice to see you, but I can't see anybody. So I'm going to talk to you. I'll try and make this sort of quite quick and quite sort of zippy. I'm going to try and keep this to 20 minutes. And then, as Jasmine said, I will answer any questions afterwards. So hopefully this will all work seamlessly. Let's see. Going the wrong way. Not a good start. So I was asked to talk really about my favorite subjects. And I titled it, "What Can You Do to Change the World?" And this is from a business perspective, I suppose, but most of us work in businesses. And I'm just going to talk about 4 things. When I said I was going to talk about my favorite things, talking about myself isn't one of my favorite things. But I'm just going to talk about 4 things here. So a very little bit about me, a little bit about Ella's Kitchen, how can business be part of the solution and what I believe one of the solutions could be. And then lastly, what can you do to help? So just those 4 quick things. So first up, a little bit about me. And I'm talking to you about me because hopefully it sets the scene for why I'm really passionate about what I'm going to talk about. So I have 4 big loves, big passions, I suppose, in my life. I used to have 5, but ever since Arsene Wenger left Arsenal, I've been in sort of deep decline with regards to Arsenal. So used to be a season ticket holder for 20 years, and I just can't get over the fact that he's left. So I have 4. My wife, Rachel, so this is a picture of us on our wedding day. I love this picture, not because she looks great, because she actually always looks great, but because I didn't have grey hair. And this is before I joined Ella's Kitchen, sort of 10 years ago. Now my hair is completely grey. My second great love of my life, my 2 children, Nola, best friends, totally codependent on each other. And it's been amazing actually to spend loads and loads of time with them in lockdown and see them sort of developing. I'm not going to lie, putting them to bed is still a complete nightmare. They often go to bed after us, but that's another story. Third great love of my life, which I'm going to talk a little bit about, but I could talk actually for 40 minutes, but don't worry, I'm not going to. About Ella's Kitchen. Going to Ella's Kitchen has changed my life. It's changed my life in terms of what I view business could and should do. And I absolutely love working there. And it's a great honor for me to lead such an incredible company. And the 4th great passion of my life, and this ties very much into Ella's Kitchen, is this idea of people using business as a force for good. Now, it's quite sort of wordy, that people using business as a force for good. And whenever I talk about this, my wife kind of switches off about now when I start talking about it. But I want to tell you a story of something that changed my life. And this is what I guess it was it's a bit of like a religious moment for me. I've worked in business all my life, but it was only when I read this story, I think it was in The Guardian, that something, it's like a light bulb went off in my head and I thought, wow, this is amazing. And it relates to something that happened in 1999. Prince is probably another one of my passions, actually. And it relates to the UNHCR, which is the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. Now, the UNHCR, they are tasked with looking after refugees, particularly in war-torn countries. Now, if you imagine you're fleeing war and persecution, one of the first problems you face is food safety and security. Believe it or not, closely after that is the loss of identity. So if you imagine I place you somewhere on the planet and you have no identification, no passport, no credit cards, nothing at all, that loss of identification, that loss of identity is a really, really powerful thing. Now, in 1999, 650,000 people left Bosnia during the war over a long weekend, 650,000, going into a UN camp of over 1 million people. So they were quickly faced with the problem of food safety and security, the loss of identity, absolutely, but then also with parents getting displaced from children and parents from grandparents. So imagine you're going into a camp of over 1 million, and if you've got children, you lose your children. How long before you see them again? Like a month, a year? You may never see them again. And there's a true story of 3 French Microsoft technicians having lunch in Paris. And one turned to the other 2 and said, have you seen what's on the front page of Le Monde? It's all about the 650,000 people going into this camp. And the other 2 are like, yeah, it's terrible. And this technician said, well, hang on, the UN, they need a program, right? That's going to be able to give them the ability to give people an instant identification, but also the ability to track people so they can match families up together. And the other 2 are like, yeah. And he's like, well, this is what we do, isn't it? So he went to his boss, he went all the way to the Microsoft board, and the Microsoft board said, fine, have a go. They sent 40 French technicians out to Bosnia, and within 3 months, they solved the problem. Here's Bill Gates opening up what they called their field sales kit, which gave the UN the ability to give people instant identification, but then also gave them the ability to track people so they could match families up together. Now, I don't know about you guys listening, but I kind of feel that we expect governments to solve all problems. But actually, when you look at the technical brilliance, the creativity that we have inside companies, if we can use our companies as a force for good, if we could use our companies like Microsoft did in this example to help solve social and environmental problems, imagine what we could achieve. We all expect our governments to solve all of these problems, but they can't. They don't have that brilliance within them, but we do. And actually, if you see the response that many companies are having now to the crisis that we're all facing, it's incredible. You've got Google coming together with Apple. You never would have thought that was possible to come up with a track and trace app. You've got all these companies coming out and using their businesses as a force for good. And I would argue using their businesses like a B corporation, which is absolutely amazing. But this story changed my life. And it led me to Ella's Kitchen. And I'm going to just talk very, very briefly about Ella's. Hopefully there'll be lots of questions afterwards, so I can talk about it a bit more. But at Ella's, we were set up 14 years ago by a guy called Paul Lindley, and Ella was his daughter, and very much with a mission at our heart. So why we exist as a business was to improve children's lives through developing healthy relationships with food. It wasn't to sell loads of baby food. It wasn't to make money. That was our mission, and that is our sort of North Star, I suppose. And this is Ella. This is Paul's daughter in 2006 at a Sainsbury's store when we launched our first products, which were the Red One smoothie fruits. At Ella's, we have values. Loads of companies have values. Loads of companies don't live their values, I would say. They're always stuck up on walls, aren't they? For me, values describe how you behave internally, but also how you behave externally. So if you ever come into contact with someone from Ella's Kitchen, I'm really hopeful, and I actually know that we would live these values. So our 5 values are: we're childlike, we think differently, we're good to each other, we want to win, and then lastly, we're business minded. And something that really defines us as a business is we think kids first in everything, from job titles to PR to everything you see from Ella's Kitchen should be through, we're always trying to look through children's eyes. So it should be from a children's point of view. And this is a very sort of bedrock of our company. And it starts really from the foundations. So when Paul was trying the very, very first products in his kitchen, before he had any packaging or anything sorted out, Patrick, his youngest, said to him, you know, he was trying the different flavors and he said, I like the red one because red is my favorite color and fire engines are my favorite things. You can hold your breath and do a big slurp with it. It's yummy. We as adults, says Patrick, we never would have called the first smoothie fruits the red one, the orange one, the green one. But that's what children call them. That's how children relate to them. So that's what we called them. And we actually even got children to provide the inspiration for the first products and the design and everything. So I'm whizzing through this, but this is purposeful to give you more chance for questions at the end. So the third part of what I really want to talk about is the change that business, so taking that sort of Microsoft example that inspired me, and how can business be the change in the world? So I am a CEO of a division of a NASDAQ listed company, an American company. And I actually have, as a CEO of a publicly listed company, I have one fiduciary duty and one fiduciary duty only. And you're not going to believe this when I say it, but it is to maximize shareholder return. That's it. That is capitalism in its simplistic form. It is make as much money as you can for shareholders. You don't have to care about anything else. That is your prime responsibility. Now, when you think about that and really think about it, it doesn't really feel right, does it? When we're facing such social and environmental challenges, an environmental catastrophe, I would say, is on the way unless we reverse the carbon that we're putting into the atmosphere. And I would say that there's another way. There's a different way of running businesses. And this relates to what I started with, which is people using business as a force for good. And I want to talk to you about B Corporation and what it means to certify your company as a B Corporation. Crappy joke here, but the triple bottom line has been around for a long, long time of people, planet, profit, putting all of those three entities, I suppose, on an equal footing. And that is what the B Corp movement is all about. And at heart, it is a movement for business that seeks to redefine success in business so that companies can compete not only to be the best in the world, but also to be the best for the world and to deliver positive impact on people and the planet, as well as generating a profit. To certify as a B Corporation, you can't be a charity, you have to be a for-profit business. And more than anything, it's a community. It's the most amazing community in the world. I need to update this slide because there are now nearly 4,000 certified B Corporations around the world, 67 countries, 150 different industries, one unifying goal, which is to redefine how we measure success in business. So it's not solely about making money. Yes, making money is important, but so are people and so is the planet. It's a great community. There are many, many, many companies, some of which you'll notice by looking here. You know, North America, Ben & Jerry's, Patagonia, The Body Shop are recently certified, Innocent in the UK, Pucker, obviously ourselves, lots and lots of companies. And what the difference, I suppose, from other things, it proves this sort of proof point. So for me, it's a great lens through which to look at your company. So you have to go through this assessment and it takes forever and it's really, really difficult. And you have to score what they call 80 points out of 200, which may seem really, really easy. You think 80 points out of 200, anyone can do that. It's not easy at all. And when you certify, you have to change your articles of association and you have to commit to certain things. You have to commit to the triple bottom line, which is a massive thing. You have to commit to producing an impact statement every year. It's an absolute, for me, it's an absolute game changer. And I love this quote that not only is the right thing to do, but actually it's also the smart thing to do. if you want to make money, if you want to have an engaged workforce, if you want people to love working for you, if you want people to love buying from you, it makes sense to do the right thing. In my industry, so that's FMCG, and I'll break that down to just selling stuff in supermarkets. You know, in the past, it's all been about how good is a particular product. So is it Rainforest Alliance? Is it fair trade? Is it organic? You know, you can have that sort of stamp of approval on a product, but that doesn't really tell me anything about the whole company. So you could be fair trade, but you could be an awful company to work for. B Corp looks at everything. It looks at everything. It looks at your gender pay gap. It looks at your diversity. It looks at the impact on your supply chain. It looks at what it's like to deal with you. It looks at how late you pay your payments. It looks at absolutely everything in your company, and it's brilliant. So I talked about kids first. I hope this is going to work. Jasmine, you're going to have to shout at me or something if it doesn't work, because I can't see anyone else. But I'm going to play a video, and this is hopefully you'll get the talking about the kids first angle from Ella's Kitchen. So we put this together, and it sort of describes what B Corp means from an Ella's Kitchen point of view. Now, I love this video for a couple of reasons. One is our creative agency's kids did lots of the sort of drawings and colored them all in. And I'm going to come back to talk about our creative agency again in a second, because they've recently certified as a B Corp. So hopefully this works. Let's see what happens. So I'm sure you'll want to be super fat cats. I love this quote from Rose, who's the CEO of Patagonia, saying she thinks that the B Corp movement is one of the most important of our lifetime. And I believe it could be, with your help, it really could be one of the most important movements of our lifetime. And I just want to tell you this story, because for me, this kind of sums up the whole B Corp movement. And I hope you get the whole philosophy behind what we're trying to do from this story. And I tell the story because there's a girl that works at Ella's Kitchen with me on this side of the business. And she said to me, I only really understood B Corp when you told me this story. And I said to her, well, what do you mean? You've been working on this side of the business for years. And she said, yeah, but you start talking and you go on, and I kind of switch off, which isn't great. But she's like, but when you told me this story, I then got it. So I was at a B Corp event in Canada, and I got talking to this guy called Paul, who must be sort of early 60s, mid 60s, and he works for this company called Rhino Foods. They do toppings, ice cream toppings, and they're a big company. And he works on the freezer department, so on the factory floor of Rhino Foods. And I said to him, Paul, what difference has being a B Corp, Rhino Foods being a B Corp, made to your life? And he said to me, he said, I'll tell you. He said Rhino Foods has been a B Corp, I think, for about 12 years. And they introduced this initiative because they sat around as a senior team, and And there's this terrible statistic in America that 75% of working Americans can't afford $1,000 emergency. So if something terrible happens, say your child falls over, breaks their arm, you can't afford the medical bills, what do you do? Your car breaks down, you can't afford to fix your car, bad luck, you lose your job. So 75% of Americans can't afford $1,000 emergency. And the senior team, they sat around as a senior team like, well, how can we improve the lives of the people that work for us? And they decided to come up with this, they call it the Income Advance Program, this $1,000 initiative, whereby if you're a full-time employee, you worked on the factory floor, you could go to the boss at the end of the day and say, I'd like to borrow $1,000. And they say, very well. Nothing written down, no questions asked, nothing. The very next morning, you would have cash or check for $1,000 from the local bank. And then it would get taken out of your salary incrementally until it's been paid back in full over the next 3 months. So in essence, it's a guaranteed interest-free loan if you need it, if there's an emergency. And he was saying to me, you know, Mark, over the last 10 years, I've drawn down on this 14 times. And he said, I'm not going to tell you the reasons why. He said, for me, they were an absolute lifesaver. And I'm not going to tell you the reasons why, because you may not think they're important, but for me, they were an absolute lifesaver. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. He then, you're not going to be able to see me here, but I'm showing you a mobile phone. He then got out his mobile phone and he went to the photos and he said, he showed me this picture and he said, this is a picture of my daughter. He said, she lost her husband in Afghanistan. He then went to the next picture and said, here's a picture of my two grandchildren. He said, they were homeless. He said, as have I've never owned a home. And he said, my daughter and my grandchildren were homeless. He said, but unbeknown to me, but beknown to the company, because this is one of the reasons why they set this scheme up. He said, over the last 10 years, I've been borrowing and paying back on time and in full. And for the first time ever, I've been building up a credit history. He said, up until this point, no one would ever lend me any money. He said, because of the company, I've been able to get a mortgage. And he went to this next picture and said, here's a picture of the house that I was able to buy. And then he showed me another picture and he said, here's a picture of my grandchildren playing on the lawn that I was able to buy for them and for me. So he said, so you've asked me what difference it's made to me and my life. He said, it's changed my life forever. It's changed my daughter's life forever. And it's changed my grandchildren's life forever. And do you know what it cost the company? Nothing. It didn't cost them anything at all. Just nothing at all. Just believing in their staff, which is amazing. And for me, that story sort of sums up the ethos of the B Corp movement. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, I love this quote from Simon Sinek, that the true value of a leader is not measured by the work they do. A leader's true value is measured by the work they inspire others to do. And this is where the B Corp movement is really taking hold. It's like a sort of Ponzi scheme, but in a good way, in that the only two things that are benefiting our society and the planet, in that B Corps are certifying and then going out, and I'm talking to you now, there's no benefit for me talking to you, but I'm talking to you about the movement because I want you to join the movement. And at Ella's Kitchen, one of the things we've done is, if you now supply us with anything, you have to fill out the assessment from B Corp. And we can then start to grade you and see how you perform and where you're strong and where you're weak, and hopefully inspire you to then actually take the full assessment and certify as a B Corp. I hope within 18 months, half of all of our suppliers will be B Corps. You know, we're under 100 people that work in barns, or we did when before COVID, we worked in barns just outside Henley. But I think there are probably 1 million people that work in our supply chain. So we have a responsibility and we have an opportunity to change all of those people's lives if their company certifies B corporations. And this is what we're doing. And our creative agency, Havas, who are part of one of France's biggest companies and one of the biggest creative agency networks in the world, they certified because of us just over a year ago. Absolutely amazing. And some of the stories of the things that they changed to have to certify, it took them nearly 2 years. They're incredible, absolutely incredible. And that's us influencing them, and now they're trying to influence their parent company. It's absolutely fantastic and really, really inspiring. And actually, if you see a lot of what's going on at the moment, the Formula One teams all coming together to build respirators. You've got Barber changing their supply chain to produce garments for the NHS. You've got Man United and Man City coming together to help Manchester. You've got, I mentioned it before, you've got Apple and Google coming together to work together. And you have 750,000 British people, UK people, signing up to help the NHS within a few days. I mean, this is businesses using themselves as force good, but also people. And I think we can all feel this connectivity that we have at the moment and wanting to do more and searching out for something more. I really believe that business needs to make that change. I've got one more story and then I promise I'll shut up. I saw an astronaut talk recently, and he, unfortunately it is a he, but he said to me, he said, most astronauts have these sort of one overriding thought and one feeling when they got to space for the first time and they look back at the planet. The first thought they have is, wow, isn't it absolutely beautiful? I mean, it's absolutely stunning. Believe it or not, the second thing that hits them is an overwhelming feeling of sadness. And he said it's absolutely overwhelming with this sudden realization that nobody is coming to save us. There is no grand plan. There is no country. There is no government. Nobody has the solution to what we're facing. And I'll leave you this last quote from Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world. If we're not going to make this change, if we're not going to come together and try and change things, nobody else is going to do it. So that is me. I will stop sharing, Jasmine. And do I need to give you permission back or something?
No, I think we are good. So first of all, I'm really thankful for your insightful talk. It was really inspiring. And thank you for sharing all the amazing stories with us. As we've discussed earlier, so now it's the time for Q&A. I'll leave the floor open to the audience so that they can ask questions in our live chat. So I'm just going to read some of the questions which are already posted on our live chat. Is that okay with you, Mike?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So our first question is, do you think choosing the color/layout of Ella's Kitchen helped with the branding and marketing of the business?
I think choosing the colors of our products. So the pouches all come in, well, predominantly pouches. They come in very sort of colorful, bright colors. And that was purposeful. It was part of our sort of kids first philosophy of appealing to children. So we wanted them to be tactile and fun and the bright colors to react to them. So yes, that was part of the design and part of the purpose of why we use colors. Most companies use quite low-key colors. We're quite bright and sort of in your face, I suppose.
Yeah, thanks. And do you think being passionate about your idea is the way to success, or should profit making be the main goal? I think we spoke. Should profit making be the main goal of the business?
Well, I think the purpose of any business shouldn't just be about making money.
Yeah.
And if we as human beings, money doesn't make me happy. I would argue that there's only one way at work in which you can find happiness, and that is through helping other people. It is not through being successful yourself. It is not through making lots of money yourself. It is not through achieving a goal on your own. It is through helping other people. That's what fundamentally makes our heart sing. I think that's what I believe. And I think this pursuit of money at all costs, it doesn't lead to happiness. And I think a lot of us now at the moment, we've been in lockdown and doing without things that we previously thought were essential, and they're not essential. The essence of happiness, I would say, is helping other people, and it's connectivity. It's not about personal possessions.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think, but I would say, making a profit is important because it turns the wheels to enable you to do more. But we talk at Ella's Kitchen about the more successful we are as a company, the more good we can do with regards to our mission and things like B Corp. So for me, it's great. We our two of our values are want to win and we're business minded. We're very proud of that. We want to be a successful business. But for me personally, that just means we can do more good.
Fantastic. And the next question was asked by one of our audiences. Do you believe that it will be a market disadvantage for consumer products to not be B Corp certified? And are consumers really willing to spend more for B Corp certified products?
Well, two parts to that question. So the first part, yes, I really hope so. And secondly, who says that B Corp certified products are more expensive? They don't have to be more expensive. Purpose-driven organizations don't necessarily charge more for their products. If their products are better, if they're organic or compared to non-organic, organic is generally more expensive. So, our products are all organic. But being a B Corp doesn't mean that your service or your product or whatever you're supplying is more expensive. I would say, looking after your staff, I think, is a prerequisite of running a company. Being environmentally friendly and being aware of your responsibilities, I would say, is a prerequisite of running a company. It's not an and/or. I don't see it as a sort of a payoff in any way. And I really, really hope that all companies, want the UK government to change the Companies Act. So all companies should be purposeful. All companies should be producing an impact statement. Why don't all companies forced to produce an impact statement every year? Why not? It's absolutely crazy. We have these goals that we have to hit by 2050, and let's be serious, it should really be 2030. 2040 is too late. So to have them at 2050 is way, way too late. And it goes back to my point before. What is the grand plan? How are we going to achieve what we all know we need to achieve? Well, we need to do it. Let's not wait for other people to do it.
Fantastic. It's very purposeful and insightful. So the next question is, could you please elaborate on the value "we are childlike"?
We are childlike. So it's childlike and not childish. So childlike for us is being open, honest, carefree, looking at the world through children's eyes as well. So, but open, honest, carefree, imaginative. If you think of young children, that's what they are. They're incredibly innovative as well. But those are the words that I would choose for describing how we would describe that behavior.
Amazing. Would you consider yourself as a social entrepreneur?
Well, I mean, I didn't set the company up. So I wasn't an entrepreneur, in that sense. Paul Lindley set the company up. But I would like to think I'm the social entrepreneur. I'd like to think I care about, I do care about more than just making money. I don't think it's the primary purpose of business to make money. So from that sense, I'll leave it to other people to decide that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can't really say much about how you feel like, I think. So should governments regulations be encouraging businesses to align themselves with B Corp's values?
Yeah, well, yes, that would be amazing. Or the UN Sustainable Development Goals. I believe that I think there's a part for both, right? I think there are three main bodies involved in this. There's people, consumers, there's businesses, and there's government. And we need everyone. We need this sort of groundswell. I think I'm feeling at the moment, we have this massive opportunity. Something terrible has happened to the world, and it's affected all of us in different ways. I've had 3 funerals that I've not been able to go to over the last 15 weeks because of lockdown, right? So we've all been impacted in massive, massive ways, but there's a massive opportunity as well. I live in London, in West London, and we had no airplanes, we had no traffic. You could see and feel and taste the difference from lower pollution, and everybody was talking about that. You had the whole community coming together for Clap for Carers. There was this real sort of special moment, and we can't lose this. We can't lose this opportunity to make a change. So, the government needs to, this big plan to build our way out of recession. Where's this green recovery? We have this opportunity to do something amazing and hit the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And we've all got a part to play in it, like business, consumer, and the government. And we all need to come together and do it.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have from our audience today. And also I want to ask you a personal question. As I was introducing your company, I feel guilty now because I emphasize on the 100 million turnover than anything else. And I wanted to ask how will B Corp certified companies would attract the investors when they are just looking for more value on their money invested?
So I think I spoke about it before, right? So actually, if you look at the average company in the B Corp community, it will be outperforming its competitors in terms of its impact, and in terms of its profitability and its sales. So B Corps financially do better. We are a stronger company. Ella's Kitchen is a stronger company. If you just look at our profit, and if you just look at our turnover, since we certified as a B Corporation, we're a stronger company. Now, why? You may say, well, why is that? Well, break it down to really, really simple things. People love working at Ella's Kitchen because there is a purpose beyond making money. And because we have these B Corp values, genuinely care about the people that work at Ella's Kitchen. I see one of my primary responsibilities is to make Ella's Kitchen as good a place as possible for people to work at, as good as possible. And I want us to reduce the impact that we have on the environment as much as we can. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to make less money, because if we have more engaged, happier people, more fulfilled working at Ella's Kitchen, guess what? The output of that is going to be better campaigns that emotionally connect with our consumers. It's going to be better everything, better supply chain, better everything. Will be best in class, because I'm going to have the very best people working at Ella's Kitchen. And that's what we've got. And that's what B Corps have. They have this, if you imagine you go and work somewhere now, if you are miserable working for some corporate company and you're not treated well, you're not treated with respect, nobody really cares about your mental well-being, any well-being. They just don't care. How are you going to perform in that business? Probably not very well. How is everyone else going to perform in that business? Not very well. If you flip that to a company that really truly cares about you and really truly cares about the things that you care about as well. So say you really care about the environment. If they really care about the environment and are prioritizing the environment and you above profits, you're going to work harder and your output will be better. And that company will be more sustainable and will make more money and more profits going forward. For me, it really is that simple. And people seem to think there's this big trade-off. Oh, you're going to put, shareholders aren't going to be as important. No, they're going to be more well off because they're going to do better. But I take it back to what I said before, is for me personally, the more successful we are, the more good that we can do. The more good that we can do spreading the word about B Corp, the more good we can do with our dream, which is our sustainability plan, and our mission, which is all around children's health and nutrition. So there isn't a trade-off. And that's the frustrating thing is, well, okay, so if it is a no-brainer to run your company in a more sustainable way, Why isn't everyone doing it?
Yeah. So
I don't know.
yeah, I it's amazing. Yeah, now I'm just like thinking, thank you. It's like, it's personally, it's really insightful, I would say. So, and one of the audience question is, another question that came in last minute is, how does the environmental impact of meat factor into how Ella's Kitchen choose their ingredients? Do you visit all the farms in your supply chain?
So we don't have that many farms in our supply chain. So in terms of where our meat comes from, yes, we do visit the farms where our meat comes from. We do know where it comes from. We do have meat in our supply chain. So, you know, you could take us to task on that and say, well, if you're an environmentally conscious company, why do you have meat in your supply chain? Why do you have milk in your supply chain? No company is perfect. I mean, I could defend that. I could defend both those decisions and say, actually, and we've debated them as a company, should we have meat in our supply chain? Should we have beef in our supply chain? But if we look at our mission, we're coming at it from the children's angle, right? And we want to do always what's best for babies. And at the moment, from a nutrition point of view, you know, we need to have that nutrition in babies' diets, okay? But, and I know I'm being defensive here, but I would say no company is perfect, no person is perfect. I'm sure, you know, you like me would, you know, I am far from perfect. You just ask my wife. And businesses, we make loads of mistakes. The question is, when you make a mistake, what are you going to do about it? But from an environmental point of view, I could talk a lot about what we do in our supply chain. But yes, we do, you know, we do have meat and we do use dairy in our supply chain.
Thank you, Mark. It has been a pleasure to have you on this event, and thank you very much for spending your precious time with us this evening. Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome. And my last call of action to everyone would be, you know, if you want to find out more about the B Corp movement, if you're working, go and talk to your boss or the person running the company and say, can we have a look at this? Because literally you could help change the world.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody.